Today I want to talk about crystals, and specifically Lemurian crystals. I've received several messages and emails, people asking, are Lemurian crystals real? How can I tell? Where do they come from? What do I do with them? So I'm going to take a few minutes and hopefully address these questions and more so that you can feel more comfortable and confident with this concept of crystals from Lemuria. I first remembered this term circulating in the early 2000s. People were calling them Lemurian seed crystals or Lemurian quartz, Lemurian record keepers. I think I've got a nice specimen here. I think they were calling them record keepers because of the striations, these lines on the side of the pointers. And so these crystals made it out into the market. The terminology started getting into the mass consciousness, and since then, this whole concept of Lemurian stone, Lemurian crystal, has just exploded exponentially. So let's talk about, are they real? Well, yes, these crystals are real. Are they from Lemuria? Probably not. And here's why. Remember, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I truly connect with a version of Lemuria that existed at a different dimension. It wasn't a dense third dimensional world like we live in today. It was a higher vibration, a higher dimension. So not only our physical bodies, but the physicality around us, our environment, was at a higher vibration. And so, yes, we worked with crystals, but they weren't necessarily the exact same heavy, dense things that we see here today. We were working with crystals, but we were working with crystals in a different dimension. Hopefully that makes sense. It was a higher dimension, so crystals not so dense, not so physical. But the crystalline energy is still the same. These are vehicles for storing and transmitting energy or information. Same thing. So we did use crystals in Lemuria very creatively. We used other stones and minerals very creatively. But again, we were doing this work in a higher frequency at a higher dimension. Now, the crystals that we have in our world today, including these beautiful quartz pointers, they might not have physically been in Lemuria, but I have found that however it happened, a lot of these crystals are holding Lemurian wisdom. They are keys of awakening. They're almost like a little library, and they're not all the same. You have to have a particular crystal to understand what is stored within the energy of that crystal. And that was our primary function after Lemuria, because at the end of Lemuria, as I've explained in other videos, at the end of Lemuria, most of us simply just returned to non-physical. But many of us did stay in physical form and spread out around the planet, taking Lemurian wisdom with us in our hearts, in our etheric light, but also finding ways of storing that information and wisdom from Lemuria so that future generations, future epochs of human evolution on this planet could take advantage of everything that we learned and experienced in Lemuria. And so some of us did choose to encode our wisdom into physical objects like crystals. Now, it wasn't only crystals. Some of us encoded it into living rock within a mountain or within a cave, or created etheric scrolls, etheric books. Again, this terminology doesn't do it justice, but we found many creative ways of encoding information, storing information, and crystals were simply one of them, knowing that in the future these would be dug up, discovered, and it would be another way of disseminating Lemurian wisdom around the planet. Now, if you have any affinity for crystals at all, you know the feeling of finding something and going, ooh, that appeals to me. You might even say, ooh, that one's talking to me, because these stones, crystals hold powerful energy. And when you come across something, it's not an accident if you resonate with it. right? You were drawn to that for a reason, and that stone or crystal could have gifts to share with you. So Lemurian crystals, that label is a little unfortunate, because over the last 20 years, I have seen the word Lemurian tacked on every kind of stone and crystal you can imagine. And every time I walk into a crystal shop, whether it's here in Hawaii or somewhere else in the world, I am not so surprised to see, oh, okay, this is Lemurian tourmaline, if I'm saying that correctly, or this is Lemurian agate or something. It's just, people have found that, okay, if you put the word Lemuria on it, it will sell better. So unfortunately, it's just become kind of a marketing label. That's not to say that people who are doing this are unethical, because if you feel something's connected with Lemuria, you should honor that. Even if nobody else does, if you feel that connection, you should honor it. So this brings me to the important question of, okay, this is all just interesting information, but so what? How do I work with crystals? And specifically, how can I tell whether they're Lemurian or not? Well, the only way I found out is not to take anybody else's word for it, but to decide for yourself. Because only you know in your heart whether this crystal resonates with you and whether it wants to communicate or share something with you. So the only way, the easiest way is just to hold it and open your heart. Do some simple heart-focused breathing, and then just ask, are you Lemurian? And trust the answer that comes to you. Or ask it, what kind of information or knowledge, what kind of wisdom do you have to share with me? And just relax and trust whatever comes. So the only surefire way to tell if something is Lemurian or not, meaning connected to Lemuria or somehow encoded with Lemurian knowledge and wisdom, such as this little guy is to ask. Connect with that crystal, talk to it, have a conversation. I don't know if I've shared this in a while, but in terms of communicating and consciousness, you can have a conversation with anything that you can conceive of. If you can conceive of, for example, the concept of money, you can have a conversation with the consciousness of money. If you can conceive of, oh, this is a quartz crystal and there may be information encoded on it, and this might actually be connected with Lemuria, the only way to find out is to connect with it and have a conversation with it. And the crystal will tell you what its specialty is or what information it has to share with you. You are the only one that needs to know whether that crystal has something to share with you or not. It doesn't matter if anybody else knows. This is nothing to prove to your friends or family. If something's labeled Lemurian, and this has often happened to me, if something's labeled Lemurian in a crystal shop and you pick it up, sometimes it'll just be a very clear, nope, has nothing to do with Lemuria. And I set it down and I know because I asked rather than trusting somebody's label on a product. You can do the same thing if you see something online for sale. Just connect with the consciousness of that crystal that you see in the picture, and you can still have a conversation with it. So I hope these thoughts, some of these ideas are helpful and maybe help clear up some things. And hopefully, and this is my most important intent, hopefully helps you feel empowered to get your own information to decide what's true for you and what this world has to offer you rather than what somebody else says something should be or the meaning of that thing needs to be for you. It's your truth, your connection that's most important. My name's David. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I send you my love and light from Lemuria. Aloha.